Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Misha, aka Pieces of Mish, and I am here with another video. I know it's been a while since I've sat down with you all and made a video like this face to face, but this is a very serious topic that I felt I needed to address and talk about so that hopefully my story can help someone else. 2 weeks ago, on November 17th, I was admitted to the emergency room with bilateral pulmonary emboli and a partially collapsed right lung. In this video, I'm going to address the signs and the symptoms that led me to the emergency room, my experience in recovery, and what it looks like for me moving forward. And before I get into the details of the video, I do want to share what I do for work. So I am an organic herb flower farmer and gardener, and I'm a 200-hour registered yoga teacher, Hatha and Vinyasa yoga. And the reason why I share those because it is also important that I bring up these physical activities because they are two things that have been very helpful in my healing process of recovering from the pulmonary emboli. So pulmonary emboli, it means multiple, and I say bilateral because I experienced them in both of my lungs. So what they are blood clots, which can be life-threatening, that block the blood flow to different parts of your body, and I experienced these in my lungs. Now, what signs and symptoms led me to the emergency room to find out that this was even happening to me? So on the night before I went to the emergency room, which was November 16th, I was out with my niece and my sister. You know, we were having a good time. We had food, we had drinks, and I started to notice as the night went on, I was feeling a lot of discomfort in my shoulder, down my shoulder, across my shoulder blade, like from the middle of my back to my shoulder, and under my chest, and then on this part of my chest. But I only experienced this pain on the right side of my body. It wasn't anywhere else. And also I had like a throbbing, pounding headache. We were out, and where we were was scheduled to end at midnight, but I wasn't feeling well, so I decided to leave around 10 o'clock, and I was like, I'm just going to go home and go to bed. So when I got home, I changed my clothes and I got in the bed, and all night sleeping was very uncomfortable because every time I would inhale, I felt a sharp pain in my chest and under the right part of my rib cage, like under my right boob, and I just kept feeling that pressure every time that I would breathe. And I started to breathe shorter because I noticed the pain would happen when I was taking deeper breaths. And I woke up that morning and my mom was on her way to church, and I woke up and I told her I was having some trouble breathing, and she was like, do you need me to stay home? And I was like, no, you know, go to church, whatever. She's like, well, if you need anything, call your brother if you need someone to take you to the hospital, because my mom doesn't play about, you know, shortness of breath or anything. When I tell her I'm feeling discomfort, she tells me to go to the hospital, but I'm always like, no, I don't want to go. I don't, you know, I'm very anti-establishment, anti-hospital. I'm like, give me the herb and I'll be fine. Give me the herb and I'll power through it. And that Sunday I was feeling a lot of discomfort in my body. I felt like it was something that I could be able to just shake off with my yoga practice because I'm used to carrying tension in my body, and I'm used to being able to get on my yoga mat and work through it. Like, that's just something that works for me in my body, in my personal practice. So I put my phone on Do Not Disturb so I can do my yoga practice, and I did feel some slight comfort. I did, but all the pain wasn't gone. So I checked my phone after I finished my yoga practice, and I saw that my brother had called me. And just a little information on my brother without trying to tell all his business, but my brother had a heart attack at 39 years old. So I called him back and I described to him how I was feeling, my symptoms, and he said that those are the same things I felt when I had my heart attack, and you need to go to the emergency room. And I was like, no, I feel better. Like, I don't need to go. Like, I did some yoga. I just needed to breathe, you know, work it out. I feel good. And we got off the phone. And immediately once we got off the phone, I started boohoo crying because I was scared that I may very well actually be having a heart attack. And if I am having a heart attack, there's no way to escape this. Like, I have to go to the emergency room. So of course I got on Google and I Googled like heart attack symptoms, and everything matched up except for the fact that heart attacks happen on the left side of your body, and all of my pain was on the right side. When I tell you I felt no physical pain on the left side of my body, I felt no physical pain at all. Everything was on the right side of my body. Being the hyper independent person that I am, instead of calling my brother back to drive me to the hospital, I decided to walk. I decided to walk to the hospital with this pain in my body because I didn't want to bother anybody, and especially if it wasn't that serious. And if I was having a heart attack, I just wanted to have a heart attack alone and in peace. So I got my stuff together. I packed a little backpack. You know, I put like 2 bottles of water in it, my phone charger, and everything that I needed, because I've been in the emergency room before, and I know that those stays are typically much longer than you want to be there. Did I see myself getting admitted to the emergency room? No, I honestly thought they were going to look at my symptoms and send me home, because I'm very much used to medical neglect as a Black woman. But I packed my bag, and I actually recorded a video of how I felt before I left, and I'll insert it here. All right, so I might be having a heart attack right now, and I kind of feel like I am. So I'm going to attempt to walk to the emergency room, even though I should have my brother drive me. I'm going to try to walk because, I don't know, I feel like maybe some air will make me feel better. But, yeah, so I'm looking for my hat, trying not to panic, because I don't think panicking would do me any good. Alright, y'all. Let's see y'all later. I walked to the emergency room, which was about a 10-minute walk from my house. It wasn't too bad, because in my mind, if I walk to the emergency room, I'll probably feel better. Maybe I just needed fresh air. You know, maybe I just needed to go for a walk and be outside. So I thought once I got to the emergency room, I'd feel better, and I'd just walk home. And, you know, I got there and I did not feel better, so I went ahead and checked in. I waited in the emergency room, and then once they finally got me back to a room, the nurse came in, or the doctor, I'm not sure, doctor or nurse, I think it was the doctor. The doctor came in and just started, you know, doing little things with me. She came in and she started like feeling on my stomach. Came in and she started feeling on my stomach, and when she felt under my right breast and told me to breathe, I just started screaming because the pain was excruciating. And that's when she thought it may have been my gallbladder giving me such discomfort, because she said your gallbladder can also give you pain in your shoulder and your neck, where I was experiencing that pain on my right side. So what they did was they ran a CT scan. They took a lot of blood. They hooked me up to an IV for painkillers. When they did the CT scan, that's when it came back that I had the blood clots. So the way that my health insurance works, they upload your results to a portal that you can see. So because they were uploading my results to the portal in real time, I was getting an email every time new results came in, and most times I was seeing those results before the doctors even came in and told me what was going on. So as I was reading the results, I was copying and pasting those things into Google to try to understand the doctor language, because I didn't know what, you know, those medical terms were. And the last thing I looked up, it said blood clots. So at that same moment when the doctor was coming in, she was like, did you see your results? Did you look at the portal? And I was like, yeah. She's like, well, how'd that happen? And I'm like, you tell me. I don't even know what it means. That's when she explained that I have blood clots in my lungs. And she said, it's not just in one lung. It's not just one blood clot. I have multiple blood clots in both of my lungs. And then they go down the line of, are you on birth control? Because birth control can cause them. I'm not on birth control. I've taken birth control maybe 10 years ago for probably 2 weeks, and I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I'm not on birth control. Did you have a baby? No. Did you have a miscarriage? No. Are you experiencing any pain in your legs? Because a lot of times blood clots can move from your legs up to your lungs. Are you experiencing any pain in your lungs? No. Have you been injured on your legs? No. Like, I was answering no to all of these questions because I have not experienced any of these things. So because I was experiencing these blood clots, they did have to admit me to the hospital. So I was admitted that Sunday night, and they started me on a IV drip of heparin, which is a blood thinner, to start the process of thinning out the blood clots. I'll say when I first got admitted to the hospital, the pain was like around a 7. It wasn't a 10. It was painful, but I feel like I felt worse. So, you know, I kept it, like I told them it was maybe at a 7. And they gave me those painkillers. They gave me a painkiller, I think my first when I was in the emergency room, but that honestly didn't do anything for the pain. So once they put me in a room, they put me on that heparin drip. They told me I would need to get an EKG in the morning, which will be a scan of my heart. And they were also going to do, I don't know the medical term for this, but they were going to do ultrasounds on my legs to check and make sure that I didn't have any blood clots in my legs. So the next morning, they took me off of the heparin to put me on Eliquis, which is a blood thinner medication you take by pill. So they put me on the Eliquis, and they went and took me for the EKG, and they also did the ultrasound scan on my legs, both which showed that my heart had no damage to it and my legs had no signs of clotting. So these blood clots just formed in my lungs, and what they are diagnosing them as is unprovoked, because there's no cause, no reason. They don't know what caused them. That second day of me being in the hospital, being admitted, I was basically just monitored as I laid in the bed. You know, they made sure I took my medication. They made sure they gave me my meals. You know, the nurses were attentive to a certain extent. I do feel like they could have done a better job at listening to me. And fortunately, I had a friend, shout out to Quay, who came and advocated for me, because at one point they were supposed to have, I think it's called the Dopplers on my legs, to make sure that my legs didn't clot up. And they did not do that for me the first night. So when Quay was there the second night, Quay told them that they needed to put them on my legs. And the nurse came in shortly after and put them on my legs. And I slept with those Dopplers on my legs throughout the night to ensure that there was no clotting in my legs. Second day is when they did the EKG and the scan on my legs and found nothing. But I still had to be there another night because the doctors still just weren't sure of where these clots were coming from or how they formed. So the third day I was in the hospital, the day I was discharged, the pain got worse. The pain got gradually worse. And I found out that the pain was getting worse because they were not giving me pain meds. They were asking me how my pain felt on a scale of 1 to 10, and I would tell them, but yet they still weren't giving me pain medication. And I know that there's a stigma of people coming into the hospital, addicts, you know, unfortunately, coming in for, you know, and faking pain for wanting pain meds. But someone who was actually experiencing a physical pain in my body and not being given pain meds, the pain just got gradually worse. So the doctors finally came in and they talked to me about, you know, they were going to discharge me, and they sent me home with my prescription. They did not send me home with any pain meds. They just sent me home with my prescription of Eliquis that I will be taking, according to the doctors, for the rest of my life, because once again, the clots are unprovoked. There's no cause, there's no reason. So because of that, I have to take them forever. Once I got home, the pain was absolutely excruciating, very excruciating, to the point where I sat down in my chair and I had to go pee. And so I got up, and it felt like everything in my body, it felt like my internal organs were not secure. It felt like everything in my body was just moving around, and the pain, I've never felt pain like this before in my life. So I went to the bathroom, and I forgot to take my phone in the bathroom, which I don't typically do. You know, I'm used to just being able to move about how I want. So I went to the bathroom, and I sat on the toilet to use the bathroom, and as soon as I stood up off the toilet to flush and wash my hands, I collapsed to the floor. Immediately, I just felt that pain that I felt when I first went into the hospital, but I felt it completely over my whole body. And I'm not to be dramatic, but I thought I was going to die. Not to be dramatic, but I thought I was going to die. I live with my mother, who is 77 years old, and we live in our house, and it's a very big house. And I didn't have my phone with me, and I couldn't get up, so I was on the floor screaming. I was screaming, "Mom," I was screaming, "Help," I was screaming for her to help me. And between us, for her to hear me, there was a bathroom door, there was a hallway, there was a stairwell, there was another door, there was another room. So there was no way she would have heard me screaming from the bathroom. So I had to drag myself on the bathroom floor. out into the hallway till I finally made it to the top of the stairwell where my mom could hear me screaming. And she came out obviously and was like, "What's wrong? What's going on? Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I just kept saying, "No, no, no." And she immediately called the emergency room, or she immediately called the ambulance. Fortunately, when she called the ambulance, at that same time, my sister was coming to the house, and that helped me calm down a little. You know, my sister, she asked 21 questions. So, of course, she came in, "Misha, what's wrong? Does it hurt that bad?" And I'm literally hugging the wall, screaming and hyperventilating because I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. So the ambulance comes, they take me into the ambulance, and I am now, once again, back in the emergency room with pain that was 10 times worse than the pain I initially went in there for. So because I was in so much pain, they gave me a shot of morphine, which I don't know if you've ever had a shot of morphine, but that sent me into oblivion. But the pain subsided a lot. It subsided a lot. And they finally were able to write me a prescription for Oxy, and they also gave me 2 to go home with to hold me over just in case I couldn't get the prescription filled that night. And they sent me out of the emergency room. I'll say the first, let's see, I went home on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those first 4 days were very painful, but fortunately I only had to take Oxy for about 2 days. I only took 4 pills out of the 2 they gave me and the 9 they prescribed me. I only took 4. So it was still painful, but the pain wasn't enough where I had to keep popping pills. And genuinely, honestly, I did not like the way they made me feel. I don't like that type of high. So I didn't want to take them anymore. So once the pain was bearable enough to not have to take painkillers, I stopped taking them altogether. And I'm going to go ahead and just insert some clips that I took of my process, how I felt in recovery, just so you all can see gradually. I didn't film every day, but I did take a chance to like just do little check-ins of how I felt. All right, y'all. Turns out I wasn't having a heart attack. I have blood clots in both of my lungs. So I'm finally at home for the second time because they sent me home yesterday. And about an hour after they sent me home, I collapsed in the bathroom after using the toilet, which isn't funny. It was actually very scary. But I went back to the emergency room and they sent me home with some pain meds. So I've been doing a lot better now that I have some pain control. It's 8 days post my diagnosis of pulmonary emboli in both lungs and a partially collapsed right lung. I'm feeling, I won't say great, but I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like I may have never been in the hospital, which says a lot from how drastic the pain was just a week ago. So now it's 2 weeks later, and yesterday I had my first follow-up appointment with the cardiologist. In this follow-up appointment with the cardiologist, we talked about where I am now, my progress, and what it looks like moving forward. So I did have some questions because, like I said, I am a organic herb flower farmer and gardener, and I'm a yoga teacher. And physical activity is very much a part of my lifestyle, very much a part of my work, and things that I find joy in. I find joy in being able to move my body. So I asked the doctor, you know, when can I go back to work, or just like what do limitations look like for me? We did the whole thing of my blood pressure. He checked my lungs, which are at 100%, which is a miracle and a blessing to be able to say I experienced this 2 weeks ago, and right now I am completely fine. Like I have 100% good bill of health, where the doctor said like I can go back to work if I wanted to, just take it easy. But for the most part, I have completely healed from these blood clots. And I asked the doctor about the partially collapsed right lung because they did not tell me that my right lung was partially collapsed. It was in my lab report, but they did not say it to my face. And when I asked him about it, he said, "How do you know about that?" And I said because I copied and pasted the results from the lab report. The doctor did reassure me that the partially collapsed right lung would heal on its own. And to be honest, I feel no pain in my body whatsoever when it comes to the pain that I was experiencing when I first went into the hospital. Now, what changes am I making in my life to ensure that this doesn't happen again? I don't think there's really much of anything that I can do since they were unprovoked. But one reason why I did heal very quickly is because I am very physically active with my farming and with my yoga. I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to do to maintain a healthy, well-balanced, and calm lifestyle. So there are some changes I'm making, and I'll tell you about those. I think the first change I'm making is I have a zero tolerance for conflict. I have a zero tolerance for conflict, and that may sound like a cop-out, that I'm avoiding difficult conversations, but if I can't sit down and have a one-to-one face-to-face with somebody when we're experiencing conflict, it's not going to happen. I'm not yelling, I'm not raising my voice anymore, I'm not going back and forth with people. As someone who has facilitated whole departments on conflict resolution, I'm actually trained and skilled and have a degree, which I've been able to use towards that skill. I now know that you cannot resolve conflict with people who are not on the same level as you. So I have a zero tolerance for conflict, because people who know that I've just experienced this type of health scare would not even bring drama towards me that would put me in a place of feeling sick again or having to defend myself, which will, one, get me worked up and put me in a space where it would be very easy for me to develop some sort of sickness or some sort of pain. So I have a zero tolerance for conflict. I'm remaining active. So I am still teaching yoga. And if you're here and watching this, please make sure you check out my Yoga with Mish playlist. But I am transitioning my yoga practice to a more gentle practice. So I'm going to start off back to teaching, but right now I'm teaching chair yoga classes. So if you are watching this before December 1st, I have a Lighten the Load chair yoga class, which I will be doing live at 10 a.m. on December 1st on this YouTube page. So I'm easing back into my physical activity, easing back into my yoga practice, and being able to teach for a larger audience again. With my farming and gardening, luckily I can still do those things which I enjoy and which help bring movement and exercise into my body. I'm just going to take it easy because since I am on the blood thinners, I'm prone to bleeding out. just to say it clear, I'm prone to bleeding out. And I often do cut myself or get injuries during my work as a gardener, as a farmer. So I have to be mindful to protect myself, wear my gloves to make sure that I'm not bleeding, that I don't bleed or don't cut myself, because that may lead to more issues along the way. Wrap this up and come to the end of this video. Pulmonary embolism can be very scary. It is something that can be managed if you pay attention to the signs early. And I think when I first noticed that pain, which was the night before I was admitted to the ER, I went because I didn't want to die. Plain and simple, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to die. Did I notice signs and symptoms earlier? I noticed shortness of breath over the summertime when I was working in the garden. I noticed that I had to take a lot more breaks than I usually did. So I would say if you have any signs of symptoms of shortness of breath, pain in your body, anything where that feels unnatural to you, please go to the emergency room. Please seek help. And also go with someone who can advocate for you. I know a lot of hospitals offer advocates, and that is one thing that I wish I had, because the lack of medication that was given to me and the lack of care that I felt in some instances from certain nurses, it definitely impacted my stay at the hospital. But if I could tell you one thing, it's that if you have experienced any of these signs and symptoms that I am telling you about, please go get them checked out, because these can be fatal. Blood clots can be fatal. They can stop blood flow to your brain, which can cause a stroke, blood flow to your heart, which can cause heart attacks. So please take these signs and symptoms serious. This is coming from a person who is very anti-hospital, very anti-medication, very anti-establishment, very anti-anything. And for me to tell you to please take care of yourself, please take it for what I'm saying. Take care of yourself, because these things are very serious, very serious. Moving forward, I do have to be, as of right now, I have to be on the Eliquis for a year. If my clots had a cause, I would only have to take them for 3 months. But because the doctors don't know, I have to take them for a year. And at the end of the year, we'll revisit. But more than likely, they said if they don't find a cause, I will have to take the Eliquis for the rest of my life. And that is not something that I want. So I am looking into herbal ways to heal this, which is totally on me. I'm allowed to do that because it's my body. And if you are opposed to herbal remedies for healing, that's fine. Do you, and I'm gonna do me. But yeah, I would say listen to your body and take care of yourself. Don't allow yourself to be in stressful situations which can reignite any type of pain or discomfort. I'm noticing now when things show up for me in my body, they show up in my chest. They show up in my chest. And as a person with an embodiment practice that is yoga, it is very easy for me to be aware when I feel things showing up in my body and how they make me feel and ways that I can work through them. So yeah, y'all, this was my pulmonary embolism story at 34 years old. And, you know, things like this are not a death sentence. They are not. There are bumps in the road that we can use to heal and grow from. And I've learned so much from this experience. And if anything, I've learned to listen to my body and to move through this world with more lightness and more love, so that, you know, I can continue to live out my purpose and the will that I've been put on this earth for. So yeah, y'all, that is my pulmonary embolism and partially collapsed right lung story at 34 years old. I'm wishing myself more health and wellness, and I'm wishing you all more health and wellness. And please check out my Yoga with Mish playlist. Check out my farming and gardening playlist. And feel free to comment on this video if you've had a similar experience. I would love to hear about your experience and how you've navigated it. And like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button so that you could be notified when I post new videos. But thank you so much for rocking with me, and I'll check you all sometime soon. Bye.